video, I'm going to tell you how to completely avoid, or at the very least minimize, the keto flu. I'm going to explain a little bit about what the keto flu is and how it works and what you can do to fix it. So let's jump right in. The keto flu, if you've never heard of it, for the most part is just electrolyte imbalance. So when you go on a ketogenic diet, very strict keto, like what we're doing in here, when it puts you into a state of ketosis, we tend to dump a lot of fluid. So, which means you're waking up, maybe a couple times in the night when you're first starting to go pee, and with that goes a lot of your electrolytes. So, what happens is we dump all this fluid through our kidneys, and with it goes sodium, potassium, and at a little bit slower rate, magnesium. So it's very important to replace these electrolytes. Insulin's coming down, and our body releases a lot of fluids over the next 3 days, or for the first 3 days when you're starting. So if you're already low carb, you're already keto, you're probably still going to have a little bit of this effect, because we are really, we're going into a calorie deficit here. We're very strict on keto. We're going very low carbohydrates. So we're taking carbs down to about 15 grams. We are lowering your inflammation, and we tend to hold on to a lot of fluids when we're inflamed. So all those fluids are being released, and then we have something called glycogen, especially if you're coming off of a carbohydrate diet. You have really full glycogen stores in your muscle and in your liver. So when you go keto, we tend to release some of that. And when you're releasing that glycogen, it binds to water, so you're actually losing about 3 or 4 times more water than you are glycogen. This is, again, taking electrolytes with it. So, people talk about feeling really unwell. And I'm going to go over just some of the signs and symptoms of, the keto flu, or electrolyte imbalance in particular. So, and I'm going to tell you which ones relate to which thing. So the headaches, you could possibly get headaches. Some people experience headaches, and that typically comes from lack of magnesium. So I have a couple different options for magnesium. I'm going to go over those with you. Magnesium bisglycinate or magnesium glycinate, that's a good choice. Again, that's headaches. You might also crave chocolate. So people tend to crave chocolate or dark chocolate because it's high in magnesium. So your body does know what it wants. So it has these cravings a lot of times. The other thing next is sodium. So sodium or salt is probably the easiest one to replace, and probably the most common and quickest thing to get depleted in your body. So you want to get a salt. You could go and get, Redmond salt or something like that that has some trace minerals in it, or the pink Himalayan salt is okay. They have very few trace minerals though. So if you're getting some of those salts with the extra minerals, it's usually not really enough to make much of a difference or to help with anything. So you're really just buying it for the sodium, and you tend to pay more money. So what I do is I just go into Costco and I buy a 3-pack of this salt here, and it is iodized sea salt, which means it does have a little bit of iodine in it, which is also very important. Some of the other salts aren't iodized, so you're not getting any iodine. We really need iodine to support our thyroid function, which the thyroid, if you don't know, actually is what determines our metabolic rate. So how many calories you burn in a day. So you really want to support your thyroid. You want to make sure you're getting a bit of iodine. So have the iodized sea salt. And you also could, supplement iodine, but I might talk about that in another video. So for the salt, I'm going to tell you guys, I want to get into the portion. So, like I said, sodium, potassium, magnesium, that's what I'm talking about here. So for your salt, you want to get 2 teaspoons a day. We are also including the Keto Rescue Aid lemonade. It's going to be a PDF included in this email. And what the lemonade will do is it tells you to do half a teaspoon of potassium, half a teaspoon of salt, apple cider vinegar. I would look at the apple cider vinegar as being optional. If you don't like the taste of it, then don't have it, but there are a lot of benefits. So it will help with your digestive system. It will help lower blood sugar a little bit, which is always a good thing. and a pretty good amount as well. So it's equal to going for about a 30-minute walk as far as the effects on your blood glucose or your blood sugar. So it will help control your blood sugar, which is important on keto. Um, Anything you could do to keep your blood sugar stable is always a good thing. So again, 2 teaspoons of salt. And the next thing is potassium. So I do want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. And I do want to tell you that it is important to check in with your doctor if you have kidney disease. You want to check with your doctor if you're allowed to supplement potassium, or if you have impaired kidney function. And the other thing would be if you're on a potassium sparing medication. So typically this would be a blood pressure medication because potassium can help lower your blood pressure. It is a very important electrolyte. And if you're on a potassium sparing medication, then you definitely want to check in with your doctor. For most people, potassium is very similar to salt or sodium. When we have excess, we just release it through our kidneys and flush out any excess. But it's very, very common for us to be low or for us to be hypokalemic, so low potassium, on a ketogenic diet. That tends to be what happens, is it gets depleted. It has that diuretic effect. We're releasing all these fluids and we lose all the potassium. So here's one way. If you're in Canada, I'm going to show you guys something cool. But here's one way to get potassium in. So you can find these. These are just two, different potassium chloride. So you go into the grocery store, in where you find the salt, and you can get the no salt, or you can get the salt-free. There's one called New Salt. There's one called Morton's Light. There's a few different ones. So what you're looking for is potassium chloride, and the main thing is for your portion size is to get 1 teaspoon a day. So 1 teaspoon total, not all at once. You want to divide this up. So what I typically recommend to people is in the morning, get a teaspoon, and only a teaspoon, not a tablespoon, and a level teaspoon. And you put that into a little container, maybe into a little sandwich baggie. You want to measure that out. So do that in the morning. And then your goal is to get that teaspoon of potassium inside your body by the end of the day. Which really shouldn't be that hard. You can put little pinches all the time into your coffee, like a little pinch, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. You're not going to taste that, or an eighth of a teaspoon. It tastes kind of like salt. So you can put it into the Keto Rescue Aid drink that we included. That gives you half a teaspoon. So remember, that's included. Half a teaspoon is half of all you need in a day. So the Keto Rescue Aid lemonade actually masks the flavor pretty well. Make it your own as well. So if you need to, on the Rescue Aid, if you need to add more lemon or take out the apple cider vinegar or adjust things, add a little more sweetener or a little more of the lemon juice to make it taste good to you, then do that. It doesn't have to be exact. The main thing is to try to get these electrolytes in every single day. So you need to develop a habit. That's why the Keto Rescue Aid is probably a good idea, because you can make a liter of it and then you can be sipping on that for a few hours. And just that act of sipping on something actually can help you from all those cravings coming up. It's taking your mind off of eating a lot of times. We're looking for, like a dopamine hit, but you probably get a little bit of that from the lemonade. It tastes good, so you're going to enjoy it. And just when you're sipping on something, it's keeping you busy. It's a routine. As you're coming off the carbs, you're going to need to replace it with something. So I'm going to make a whole new video about that. This one's just going to be about the electrolytes. So again, I'm just going to give you a little recap. So 2 teaspoons of salt a day. And if you're having a meal of bacon, so if you're having a lot of bacon, then you don't even need a full 2 teaspoons of salt. You could do 1 teaspoon of salt. Or if you did bacon all day long, you had 2 meals of bacon, which you can do, you don't need to supplement any salt because you're going to get enough sodium. So that's for that. And the potassium I just talked about, 1 teaspoon a day of potassium chloride, and that gives you all that you need. The recommended daily amount from the government is 4,700 milligrams. We get about half of that with our food, so we need to supplement the other half. And here's another way you can bump up your overall trace minerals, because I did talk about the different salts that I really don't recommend. So this stuff here is called Aussie Trace Minerals. And I met the owner of the company at a low carb lifestyle show where I was a speaker back in the spring in Toronto, Ontario. And, at first I was a little bit skeptical. I went over to his table and kind of checked out what he's doing, and he was, answered all my questions. This does have a good dose of magnesium. So if you do not want to supplement with magnesium, which I'm going to give you guys a dose in a second. So there's 200 milligrams in one of these tablets. You would take one a day. That's the dosing on it. If you take the Aussie Trace Minerals, then you don't have to supplement with magnesium because it's going to give you enough magnesium. It's very bioavailable, the magnesium that's in the trace minerals, and it has 2,500%, so 2,500% more trace minerals than the pink Himalayan salt or the Redmond salt or any of the other salts you can get that people tend to buy for the minerals. They talk about having this high mineral content, but it's actually not very high. There's not a lot in it. This here, they've super concentrated all the minerals from ocean water off the coast of Australia in a very remote, pristine area so that it's very clean and there's not a lot of toxins in it. And then they remove the sodium. So they're taking out the sodium and just keeping all the trace minerals, and they keep in the magnesium. And they're, like I said, this does replace your magnesium supplement. And there is some potassium in here, but only about 40 milligrams of potassium. So you're still going to need to supplement your potassium. I think this is a really good, safety net. So when we are going to a ketogenic diet, we are cutting out, we're eliminating a lot of different foods. So this is kind of just covering your bases. There's 74 trace minerals, and a lot of these minerals are essential. We really do need them. They have really important roles in the body. And this is going to cover a lot of those needs. It's going to cover a wide range, like a multivitamin, but 100 times better. So if you guys are interested in this, we are going to include a link inside this email. You can grab yourself some Aussie Trace Minerals, and you can use the code BACON10. I think it's all lowercase, so BACON 10, like 10, the actual number 10. If you use that code, you actually save 10%. So the one I have, so I've been taking the Aussie Trace Minerals myself for about, I'm going to say 6 to 8 months right now as the recording of this video. And the one I use, and I actually add this to the Keto Rescue Aid, and I think it really, bumps up the minerals that you're getting, is this one here. So let me have a look. Yeah. So this is the right one. It's Aussie Trace Minerals, and it's lemon lime. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's lemon lime. So it actually has a lemon lime flavor, and it really goes good with the lemonade. And something like this, I have this bigger one, and I have one downstairs in my kitchen. So this stuff, it actually has no flavor, and it's just a base. So it kind of tastes a little bit salty. Like if you were to taste it directly, it has a tiny bit of a salty taste or a mineral taste. So what I do with this one is, since there's no flavoring added, I put it into my food. So you could put this in coffee and you wouldn't really taste it. And what I tend to do is when I'm cooking up some ground beef, or I'm doing up scrambled eggs or burgers or a chili or a pasta, I mean, you could pretty much put this into anything and you're not going to taste it. So the great big one I add into my food, and I feel like I'm really bumping up the amount of minerals I'm getting every day. I was having about 20 drops a day, and I'm probably up to 30 or 40 drops of this a day. One of the things I have noticed is that my fingernails grow a lot faster. So I've noticed my fingernails are growing faster, and my hair actually has been growing a little bit quicker. So I've noticed that I've needed to go in and get a haircut a little more often, which, I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't know if I would see much for noticeable differences, but those are the two things I mainly noticed. So anyways, this video is getting a little longer than I want to be. Hopefully you guys have an understanding of what you need to do for electrolytes. They're very important. If you don't take your potassium, so again, potassium was this, you will get leg cramps at night, and you could even get heart palpitations. Your digestive system can slow down. Your whole body kind of slows down a little bit, and the calf leg cramps are terrible. So you need to get a teaspoon a day of this stuff here. Oh, there's one more thing I forgot to say. So if you are in Ontario or certain provinces in Canada, then you can actually just take a tablet for your potassium. So I go in Ontario, I go into, Walmart or Costco, any pharmacy, so Shoppers Drug Mart, and there's other provinces that carry it as well. So you can go in and I want to make sure you guys can see this fine. So it's EuroK 600. These here are 600 milligrams slow release potassium tablets. They look like this, and you can take 4 a day, and that covers all the potassium that you need for the day. Each one is 600 milligrams, so you're getting 2,400 milligrams a day, and it's slow release, so it's a very safe form of potassium. And how I would recommend taking this is 2 at each meal. So you're doing 2 meals a day on this program. You would take 2 potassium tablets at each meal, and that's going to give you all the potassium that you need. So hopefully you guys found this helpful, and do not ignore this video. Do not think that this is optional. Very important to get your electrolytes each and every day. It's the #1 negative part of keto, I would say. If they're, I haven't really ran into any health concerns with keto. It's all been positive. It's been life-changing in every way possible. I've done all my blood work, but you do get dehydrated. So it's very important, and it's very easy to do. Just make it a new habit. Get your electrolytes in every day, and you will feel fantastic on keto. And we will see you guys again in the next video.